but the president's priority is his personal and political interest, not the public interest. Yesterday, as you know, Democrats went to the White House prepared to offer the president the opportunity to launch an historic infrastructure initiative. We had met 3 weeks before. The idea that and was a good positive meeting about how we build the infrastructure of our country, roads, bridges, mass transit, broadband in rural areas and in underserved urban areas as well, water systems, both wastewater and safe, clean drinking water, infrastructure for our satellites so that our technology works here. For all of these things, we were optimistic. We also were hoping for housing and school construction as a further part of the conversation. But the question is, how was it paid for? And the president was going to, the plan was, as we agreed at the meeting 3 weeks ago, the president was to present his proposals at yesterday's meeting. Well, everyone, he started sending signals that he might not be ready or interested. The night before, he sent us a letter to Chuck Schumer and to me saying that he doesn't want to do infrastructure until we do the U.S., Mexico, Canada. If that's not the accurate character, some people call it after NAFTA, some call it NAFTA 2.0, but anyway, that trade agreement, and that was a strange juxtaposition. But nonetheless, the next day, you know what happened. I think what happened, he says it's because of cover-up, and I know that that strikes a chord with him, and he's afraid of cover-up, but afraid of being accused of cover-up. But I really think that what he knew the one court decision was getting into territory that he did not want touched, and they did not allow the Mueller investigation to go into the president's personal finances. So Mazur was a setback for him, and then he must have known the Deutsche Bank decision would be consistent, but in any event, to inoculate against its presentation, he pulled a stunt. Now, I truly believe that the president has a bag of tricks, and the White House has a bag of tricks that they save for certain occasions. They don't necessarily apply to the occasion, but they're a distraction, which is his master of distraction. We will all agree on that. That's something he does well, to distract from problems that he has. He tries to change the subject. And while he tried to say it's because I said cover-up, we've been saying cover-up for a while. And our 9 o'clock meeting was a meeting we have anyway, so it had nothing to do with him. But I think what really got to him was these court cases and the fact that the House Democratic Caucus is not on a path to impeachment, and that's where he wants us to be.
Ms. Gaines, what's the average day like for a young lady trying to compete at the level you've competed at in terms of training?
So I started swimming when I was 4. I graduated college when I was 22, so I dedicated 18 years of my life to my sport, which of course includes your sport-specific training, swimming, but also weightlifting, also your diet, also your sleep schedule, not to mention the social sacrifices you have to make. At the collegiate level, we were swimming in the water every single day for 6 hours, 3 of those hours being before 8 a.m. So you practice from 5 to 8, you go to class, you come back to practice, you swim from 1:30 to 4:30. We ate dinner at 5 o'clock because we were starving. Eat dinner, do your homework, ice your shoulder, go to bed, wake up, you do it all again the next day. We were swimming over 10 miles on average every single day.
Dr. Lopez, do you believe that Leah Thomas had an advantage in swimming because she was a biological male who transitioned sometime late in college?
I am not a sports medicine physician. I can only relate to the stand of the Sports Medicine Federal International Association.
What do they say?
They do not recommend the exclusion of transgender individuals in sports.
Do they believe it's fair for Leah Thomas, who spent 3 years swimming for the men's team in the senior year of college, to compete in the women's division? They think that's okay?
As a medical professional, I don't have the scientific expertise to provide an opinion.
Let me tell you as a person. You don't need a medical degree. This is not okay. This is definitely not okay. You work all your life training as a swimmer, competing against biological girls, and you wind up your senior in college competing with somebody who 3 years swam as a guy, and you lose. Ms. Robinson, do 80% of Americans support biological males competing in women's athletics?
I can say more than 70% of Americans believe that the
No, it's
rash of attacks on trans
no, it's a
sports
really
is the wrong political
simple
priority.
question. Do 80% of Americans support biological males participating in female sports?
I mean, what I can't verify that, but what I can
Well,
say
I
is
can
that
tell you it's not even close. That there's nothing wrong with you if you have a problem with Miss Gaines feeling cheated. There's nothing wrong with you if you have a problem with Miss Gaines feeling uncomfortable in a locker room. There's nothing wrong with you. Now, we'll sort this out as a nation, but this idea that something's wrong with her because she feels cheated is absurd. You have every right to feel that way. And I imagine a lot of young ladies do feel uncomfortable being in a locker room under the situation you described. Mr. Sharp, what's the purpose of your organization, and what's your message to America?
Yeah. Senator, we want to protect the freedom of all Americans, and that includes our desire to ensure that children and women, that their interests are protected, that they're not harmed by this gender ideology that's being pushed, and that each of us is free to live and work and speak without being coerced or punished by the government because of our good faith beliefs.
One final question, Ms. Gaines. Do you think the experience you had in the dressing room is something that young girls throughout the country share your views?
I get messages every single day from girls of all over the political spectrum. We mentioned this issue being politicized. This is not politics for me. This is a real life issue, and I want to put it on record. I don't believe trans athletes should be banned from sports. That's the rhetoric that's being pushed from the opposition. Anti-trans bill bans trans athletes. Trans athletes should not be banned from playing sports. Of course not. I just want everyone to compete where it's fair and where it's safe, and I don't understand how that's overly controversial. But yes, especially at that NCAA championships, every single girl, at least on my team, being a team captain, I had these conversations with my team, and there was 40 girls on my team. We all felt the same way. I've had the conversations. We all felt uncomfortable in that locker room.
Thank you.